Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into the very first hands-on reviews of GPT-5. We've gathered the first-hand accounts from the developers, the designers, and the scientists who got to use it early, and what they're saying is, this is way more than just another upgrade. So what's it actually like to use? Let's get into the review.
Okay, let's just start with this. This quote from Petro, who's both a designer and a developer, really hits hard. He calls this the age of oracles. Think about that. People aren't just saying it's a better tool. They're talking about a completely new way of interacting with technology, where you're not just giving commands, you're having a conversation with intelligence itself.
And that's the word we kept hearing over and over again. Feeling. It's not about the specs on a sheet of paper, it's about how it feels to work with this thing. So in this explainer, we're going to break down what that feeling actually means by looking at how real people are putting it to the test.
All right, so Section 1. What is this feeling of intelligence that users keep bringing up? Well, it seems to come down to a combination of raw speed and something that feels a lot more like actual, genuine reasoning.
You can really see the difference here. Users are saying that older models were often kind of slow. They'd break your creative flow. They get stuck down these weird rabbit holes. But GPT-5, it's described as fast enough to actually work with you interactively. And here's the kicker. It can self-correct when it gets something wrong. It's the leap from a glorified autocomplete to what they're calling a true reasoning engine.
So how does that translate for, say, an engineer? Well, according to testers, it's not just helping, it's completely changing their workflow, especially when it comes to the most painful parts of their job.
Think about all the stuff that just grinds development teams to a halt. We're talking about hunting for those impossible bugs, doing huge, scary code migrations, or refactoring code that touches dozens of files. Users are saying GPT-5 excels at this stuff. One developer even said it could get a new engineer up to speed on a massive codebase in minutes. That's a process that usually takes weeks.
And here's a perfect example of that power. This is just incredible. A developer literally gave it a simple drawing, like a napkin sketch, of an app they wanted to build. And in one go, the model generated the entire, fully functional application. We're not talking about snippets of code anymore. We're talking about going from an idea to a finished product.
So what's the bottom line? What does all this add up to for a developer? The consensus from early testers is that they feel they can immediately delegate 20 to 30% of their daily work. And that's not some far-off future promise. That's the impact they're feeling right now.
Okay, but the reviews get even more interesting. It's not just about writing clean code. Users started noticing something much more subjective, something they really weren't expecting, a partner that actually has taste.
This was a huge surprise for people. The model seemed to have an opinion on what actually looks nice. They were all used to what they called the AI slop aesthetic. Technically correct, but just ugly. This was something else entirely.
For instance, when one user asked it to just make a beautiful app, it didn't just splash some colors around. It made real, deliberate design choices. It was considering visual spacing, typography, even the rhythm of the page. They pointed out how good it was with modern tools like Tailwind, creating designs that felt polished and professional right out of the box.
Now, this might sound a little silly, but it's actually a brilliant test of deep understanding. Most AIs get this wrong because they don't really grasp the physics of it. But GPT-5 actually put the pelican's feet on the pedals. It's a small detail, but it shows a much deeper, more contextual understanding of how things are supposed to work in the real world.
And this ability to handle nuance and ambiguity, well, it's not just for making pretty apps. It's unlocking totally new possibilities in both creative arts and super technical fields.
So get this. A science comedy writer called it her ultimate research assistant. She was creating a show called The Primordial Soap Opera, and she was able to ask GPT-5 these incredibly complex questions that were both scientific and emotional about early life forms. It could jump between being a biologist and a playwright, helping her find those delightful juxtapositions.
And that same knack for ambiguity is being applied in some of the highest stakes fields you can imagine. The major biotech firm Amgen said the model is better in situations where context is everything. For them, a breakthrough like this isn't just interesting, it could fundamentally change how fast they make discoveries and, ultimately, help patients.
So, when you put all of these reviews together, what's the final verdict? What's the common thread? Well, across every single field, it seems to boil down to one critical idea.
GPT-5 feels like a trustworthy collaborator.
This was a huge deal for the testers. A common frustration with AI is that it often tries to be helpful by doing what it thinks you want. But users said GPT-5 just did what they told it to do. It executed their vision reliably. And that simple act is what started to build real confidence and trust. Even total skeptics started to come around.
And this quote from a developer really just says it all, doesn't it? The experience shifts from using a clever tool to working alongside a highly competent, dependable team member, someone you can actually trust to get the job done right.
So if we glance across the board, you see the pattern crystal clear. For the engineer, it's an instructable coworker. For the designer, it's a partner with good taste. For the creator, an incredible research assistant. For the scientist, a navigator of ambiguity. The theme is the same. It's a new level of competence that allows for real, true collaboration. And after all that, after everything we've just talked about, the people who have spent the most time with it share this final, absolutely mind-bending thought. They feel that as big of a leap as this is, we are at the very, very beginning. Maybe 1% or even 0.1% of what's ultimately possible.
And really, that's the provocative question we're left with. If the people on the front lines feel like this is just 1% of the journey, what on earth does the other 99% look like? It feels like this isn't just an update, it's the start of a whole new chapter, and you can't help but wonder what comes next.